It can be so hard for writers to know the best way for them to go about writing a novel. Obviously, I know everything there is to know about writing, so I thought I'd come here and share with you guys my superior writing and editing process. At the end, I also have what I think is an important tip for working out the best writing and editing process for yourself, if mine doesn't work. Number 1, planning. How much planning I do for a novel mostly depends on 2 different factors: the length and the complexity of the novel. If I'm writing a short story, I barely plan at all. I just kind of get an idea and go for it. However, of course, a novel has a much more advanced plot progression, I guess. So for me, I need to spend at least a couple solid days nutting out all the details, all that kind of stuff. And then the complexity, which is probably actually the biggest factor in how long I spend planning. For the Formula 1 romance I'm currently working on, I spent a couple of slightly obsessive weeks planning, I guess 2 weeks planning it. But when I attempted a fantasy novel, which may be taking a permanent hiatus from, it took me a lot longer because I kept finding plot holes and things I struggled with and I had to keep fixing them and working through them. So it does depend on what genre and how complex your novel is going to be. Obviously, if you want a crazy web detective story, that can take a lot longer than a cute little fluff piece. Then number 2, writing. This is by far the most fun and probably the hardest bit. How long it takes you to write a novel depends on how much time you have to spend on it each day, and also how long your novel is. In my case, I wanted to write 90,000 words because that's only a little bit below what the average romance novel is, and I had 30 chapters, so that was about 3,000 words per chapter. Doing some crazy math. I used a calculator at the time. But and my goal was to do a chapter each day. So write half in the morning, half in the afternoon. Technically I did complete the book, but I finished at 30 chapters with 30,000 words instead of 90,000. So oops. So in the second write, I'll be going back to it, adding a bunch more. And that's just okay. That's just how my writing process ended up. My number 1 tip for this is, even if you hate everything, want to give up, take a little break, and then maybe try and do a little bit of work. Just keep chipping at it bit by bit. You don't, unless you have heaps of free time, drawing and trying to write a whole novel in a week is probably going to make you hate writing, because I've tried that. It wasn't good. If it works for you, though, I'm impressed. Then the final section, editing. Yay! I don't directly edit after writing because I'm a perfectionist, and if I edit straight away, I feel the need for the edit to be perfect, this new version to be perfect. That's how I see it, and it doesn't work for me, and it ruins, gives me the worst writer's block, and I don't write. So instead, I do a full edit after the first write. I've only just finished the first write for my F1 romance, so what my plan is going to be is I'm going to take a little step back from it, 2 weeks or so, just so I fully disconnect. After that, I'm not going to go over the plot or anything. I'm not going to go through my plan. I'm just going to read it and highlight stuff that's wonky, all that stuff, and work out what my story actually became after I wrote it. Because as you go through, things change and all those kind of stuff. But after I've read that, I'm going to go and I'm going to lay out, I don't know, probably a big piece of paper because I'm visual, and plan and replan my plot because I need to add a lot more. So I'm going to go 30,000 words, not 90,000. That's just my process. If you do have something different, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. And please, if this video helps you at all, it would really help my ego if you liked and subscribed. Now the important tip you spent the whole video waiting for. Try out different writing processes. When I attempted my first full-length novel, and even now writing the Formula 1 book, I kept trying different schedules and testing different people's methods because you never know what's going to work the best for you. And also, different works are so different because of all those things I talked about earlier, complexity, length, all that stuff, that you're going to need to change things depending on what you're writing. It's just how it goes. And so you need to be flexible enough and willing to try all this different stuff and, trial and error it to find out what works best for you. There's no point making the whole very hard process harder for yourself just because you want to do it this way and refuse to try it Another way.